This is Dealey Plaza, where on November 22nd, 1963, John Fitzgerald Kennedy was assassinated.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And what the official story says was no way whatsoever at all a conspiracy of any kind. You'll know it's Dealey Plaza because the sign says Dealey Plaza.
And here's where JFK's parade route wasn't changed to ensure that the president's limo would make a wide left turn.
The president's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at
right down here and glides slowly past the Texas School Book Depository, leaving him wide open.
And on the 6th floor of that book depository, out of the far right corner window, is where we're told 24-year-old FBI informant and lone assassin Lee Harvey Oswald, who planned and committed the shooting completely of his own accord, all by himself, was able to fire 3 bullets out of a bolt-action Mannlicher Carcano rifle in just 6 seconds, only missing once. Despite the fact that Dallas police chief at the time of the shooting, Jesse Curry, later admitted, quote, "No one has ever been able to put Oswald in the Texas School Book Depository with a rifle in his hand."
According to the Warren Commission tasked with investigating the assassination, which for some reason included former CIA Director Allen Dulles, who was personally fired by JFK, so why was he even on the Warren Commission?
You say if you still think it was one man?
I think we better not get into that area, you know.
We're told one of those bullets, dubbed the magic bullet of the magic bullet theory, was able to go like this, hitting both Texas Governor John Connally and President Kennedy, causing a total of 7 entry and exit wounds for just one bullet, which was later found like a little present from Santa Claus on a stretcher at Parkland Memorial Hospital, because that makes sense.
The book depository is also home to the 6th floor museum, where you're not allowed to take pictures or actually see the 6th floor window that Oswald supposedly fired from because reasons?
95% of all pieces of debris from the president's head wound was found in the park across the street. But from Oswald's window, that doesn't make any sense.
Do you think that's why they don't let people look out the window?
Well, they got it surrounded by a plexiglass walls with the boxes arranged as they supposedly were at that time. But yeah,
if you looked out there and you actually looked down here, you would probably realize that
couldn't happen that way.
Also, this is where the Secret Service agents wondered how Oswald, who acted totally alone, was able to get a call into their supervisor, getting them to stand down as the presidential limo rounded the corner.
This is the grassy knoll, the place where witnesses totally did not hear shots coming from, and that's why they nonsensically ran up the hill.
Running up the hill alongside Elm Street, there by the Simmons Freeway.
Just after JFK was shot, because, well, nothing happened there.
Also, it should be noted that even though some 77 JFK assassination witnesses died in the 13 years after the assassination, almost all of them of entirely unnatural causes, including being karate chopped in the neck, suspicious suicides, murders, and heart attacks, preventing them all from testifying, all of that is a complete coincidence.
CIA killed JFK and Oswald. U.S. government equals JFK death, corruption at its finest. Everyone who's come back here has a lot to say about our government.
This black fence here was not here a couple years ago. They just put this up recently. For a long time it was just this picket fence.
Over here behind the grassy knoll on this fence, where many people over the years have written messages about how the New World Order killed Kennedy, is home to this structure, where witness Lee Bowers was working for the Union Terminal Company and had an unobstructed view of the grassy knoll, where he testified he saw 2 men standing near the underpass.
At the time of the shooting, in the vicinity of where the 2 men I've described were, there was a flash of light. There was something which occurred which caught my eye in this immediate area on the embankment.
And there was a flash of light or smoke in their vicinity. He also testified that he saw a man throw what looked like a rifle into the back of a car. But unfortunately, Lee Bowers died mysteriously in a single vehicle car crash only 3 years later in 1966. Not that any of that matters, because of course, the Warren Commission says Oswald acted alone and it was not a conspiracy.
Also on these train tracks in a boxcar, 3 tramps were arrested right after the assassination. Although for supposed tramps, they were clean-shaven with haircuts, well-fed, and wearing clean clothes and nice shoes. No official arrest records exist for these men, one of whom later came forward to claim he actually worked for the CIA and was ordered to go to Dealey just before the assassination to place a briefcase containing forged Secret Service papers in a truck before hanging out in a boxcar filled with weapons, because that's not suspicious or anything.
Now here's the X that supposedly marks the spot where JFK was actually fatally killed. Of course, the marking is about as accurate as the Warren Commission report itself, but people love to run out here and stand on the X like idiots because, well, standing in a place where a president was killed is just the thing to do on a random Sunday. Am I right?
Now let's follow Oswald's path after the assassination of the president, which he totally committed all by himself in a completely straightforward manner that makes all kinds of total sense and leaves no questions unanswered. Unlike other murderers who flee the scene, discard the evidence, and skip town to lay low, Oswald instead left the murder weapon at the scene to make sure it was found with his prints on it later. Calmly walked down to the second floor to grab a Coke, like you do, and then in a soda-fueled rage, he took a bus and a taxi back to this boarding house you see behind me to grab his coat and a handgun before he decided to randomly wander around to a bunch of other random locations for seemingly no reason.
First, he went back to the house that he once lived in with his estranged wife, Marina. The same house where about 6 months before he asked his increasingly estranged wife to take an incriminating photo of him conspicuously holding the future murder weapon along with a handful of communist newspapers to make sure and implicate himself in any future crimes committed by Marxist-Leninists against leaders of the free world in the future.
Oswald then wandered past this high school a mile away that he never attended for reasons that have never been explained, to this area of 10th and Patton Avenue, where Oswald then randomly shot Officer J.D. Tippett, who for reasons unexplained to this day was out of his assigned district, just waiting here, apparently to be shot. And even though more of the witnesses said that Oswald didn't do it than did.
How would you describe that man?
Well, he's kind of chunky. He's kind of heavy. He wasn't a very big man.
Was he tall or short?
Yeah, he's kind of short guy.
Short and heavy.
Yes.
They still went ahead and put a plaque here saying he for sure absolutely did murder J.D. Tippett, even though he never had his day in court and there's no actual evidence that that even happened. Again, for reasons that have never been explained.
Has anything been explained?
Nothing's been explained. So what do you think? This route makes sense?
Not at all. Then he walked down Jefferson Boulevard to the Texas Theater, where he slipped past a distracted ticket taker to sneak in and watch the Korean War film, War is Hell.
The Army's paying me to be a radio man, so that's what I'm doing.
After a shoe store manager was suspicious of Oswald and called the police, multiple officers responded to the scene. When they found him inside the theater, Oswald supposedly shouted, "This is it," or "Well, it's all over now," which is disputed. And he supposedly reached for his weapon but didn't get a chance to fire at police before they arrested him in a scuffle. After his arrest, he reportedly said,
Why are you treating me like this? The only thing I've carried a pistol into a movie theater. I don't see why you handcuff me. Why should I hide? I haven't done anything to be ashamed of. I'm not resisting arrest. I didn't kill anyone. I haven't shot anyone. I protest this police brutality. Back there, I didn't know I was supposed to be carrying a gun. What is this all about?
I do request for someone to come forward to give me legal assistance.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet.
After repeatedly insisting upon his rights and demanding a lawyer, Oswald also told reporters, quote, "I'm just a patsy."
Come on, man. No, they're taking me in because of the fact that I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy.
Exactly what you would say if you had just killed the president. Really?
But according to the official story, he definitely wasn't a patsy, and that's why 2 days later he was shot in the basement of the police headquarters during a transfer by strip club owner Jack Ruby, who reportedly liked to hang out with his good buds at the police station all the time, just like strip club owners always do. Also, no one let Ruby into the basement garage to make sure he'd be at the right place at the right time to take out Oswald, just like the way they cuffed themselves to Oswald during his transfer didn't leave Oswald wide open to being shot and killed to make sure he never made it to trial.
And that's the open and shut case of Lee Harvey Oswald, lone assassin. Unless, of course, you count the fact that the 1978 House Select Committee on Assassinations, who followed up on the assassination, found that there was a 95% chance the third bullet came from the grassy knoll. But since it was never widely reported or followed up on or talked about, it's like it never happened.